Good morning. We're here at Edinburgh Napier University at the staff conference on Moodle. My name is Melanie and this is Melissa. And today we're speaking to Peter Hartley from the University of Bradford.
Hello, Peter. Thanks so much for coming and for your talk. And I have a question to you. Actually, I wonder, what do you think? What are the students' expectations when they're starting the university?
It's an interesting question because certainly in my experience, the student expectations can actually be quite traditional. You know, they've been trained, indoctrinated or whatever to expect to come to university, to be sat in one of these wonderful lecture rooms. And they don't necessarily expect to be using the technology much. They're very, people like yourselves are going to be very fluent in terms of using an iPhone and mobile phones and going online and using YouTube, etc. But that's all about kind of social and entertainment and family and what have you. And there's enormous potential to use that kind of technology for educational purposes. And I think at the moment students, well, I think both students and staff, because the technology has exploded over the last 3 or 4 years, really, at the moment people are trying to catch up with it. And there's lots of little things going on, lots of innovation going on. And it's actually developing the kind of partnership between staff and students to really use this technology to its best advantage.
So where do you think, with a staff member who is looking to use this technology when they're teaching, where do you think they should start?
Well, the obvious, I suppose, starting point would be the kind of standard university tools, the sort of making sure that everything's up to date and used on the BLE and using presentations and lectures. But once you've got that, because that technology is relatively simple these days. Once you've got that done, I think you can actually start looking at all sorts of interesting ways of expanding the use of technology. So, for example, a few years ago, got involved in a project which did audio feedback, where you get a piece of student work and the little digital recorder, you actually make comments on it, which you then send as an audio file to the student. And one student came back to me and said that was the best piece of feedback they'd ever received in their entire life in education. That was a mature student. Because, how many words can you type in 4 minutes? How many words can you say in 4 minutes? And you can also give that sort of detailed explanation. And again, the technology of recording an audio file and sending it to somebody, 10 years ago was a really complicated process. Now it's just a case of plugging a USB stick in and sending an email, or you find people at Bradford are now automating the process. So you save the audio file with the student ID number, and then send it to a technician who does miraculous things, and it just goes out automatically. So there's all sorts of automatic stuff.
Do you think that it may go towards the directions more toward distance learning and this sort of things, and like actually the face-to-face education won't be needed anymore?
No, that's my short answer to that. Because I think there's always a need for face-to-face. I mean, if you actually want to go and meet people, and we're using desktop conferencing. We have a meeting online with a laptop. We're using that a lot for projects and what have you, but we've always started it with a face-to-face meeting because it's different. And you want to get to know people a bit, and then that makes the online that much better. So I think there will always be a market for distance because people can't necessarily come to a university. But I think there will always be a market for a university which has that kind of blend, because people actually want to come and meet people and network and make friends and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to enhance the experience more for the student and the staff to interact?
Yes. And you see that. An example, some of the case studies I used in the keynote, where staff have started using this equipment, and some of the most powerful impact of that has been the way that staff and students have been able to share material. So, for example, at Newcastle, where they got effectively, I think, what's going to be the next generation of BLE, where students can add in resources. So if you come across something really good on, because of medical school, something really good on, say, skin cancer or something like that, and you think is a really helpful resource, you can put it into the system, and you can then say why you think it's useful, and other staff can comment on that, and other students can comment on that. So the the kind of resource is building up all the time. So you're creating your own library.
That's an interesting way how we're going to learn. The future is going to be so different from 10 years ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, that keynote presentation where there were people tweeting in the background, and I was able to respond to that at the time. And we were able to make, somebody suggested a piece of software that I'd never heard of before. So I've learned from keynote. I've learned in the last kind of 10 minutes, I've learned 2 bits of software which I didn't know about.
Well, thank you very much,
Yeah,
Peter.
thank
That's
you very
certainly very
much.
interesting.
Thank you.